my programme, it says 11 o'clock, Chris Serle, event opening and welcome, plus introduction from the trustees. Well, it falls to me as one of the trustees to give the introduction, but I promise you it will be brief. My name's Andy Clark, I'm one of the trustees of the National Museum of Computing. To my extreme left, Tony Serle, another trustee, and Kevin Laurel. Thank you very much indeed for coming today. As the National Museum of Computing, we are just delighted to host this Vintage Computer Festival. And as you have a chance to go around the museum today, just wonder how much we've achieved through this outstanding work by a wonderful team of volunteers and funding that has been given by individuals and organisations to us. And just think how much more we can achieve with a little bit more money and a little bit more support. So if any of you have an opportunity to encourage somebody to support us either individually or corporately, of course, we would love them to come and join us. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the gentleman to my right, who for many of us I think was the face of computer education from the BBC. And Chris, we're delighted for you to join us. Please would you say a few words?
Andrew, thank you very much indeed. It's an absolute delight to be asked to do this thing. It's one of those things that's an obvious sort of logical fit, and Tony Serle's just given me a lightning tour around this fabulous exhibition. And every so often you'd feel a pang of nostalgia, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to feel the same as you go around today. Oh God, yes, that was the moment. And for me, the moment was when I was honoured to be asked to present the BBC computer programme at a time when there had never been computer programmes on TV, other than a few references on Tomorrow's World and so on. And we had a whole series, most of you are too young to remember this, but in the early 80s there was a whole television series dedicated just to computers. And on the back of that series was the launch of the Acorn BBC B, which then became part of everybody's school experience. And what made, I had no idea at the time, we were, Ian McNaught Davis, the great computer whiz, was doing the guru thing, and I was doing the innocent half-wit thing, saying, cool, can it really do that? Gosh, crumbs, all that sort of stuff. It worked well, the relationship worked very well. We were giving all sorts of demonstrations. But it wasn't until 20 years later, at least, when I was doing some contracting for Compaq. And some of you may know, Compaq used to have a road show, and they used to take their latest service and their latest hardware around and demonstrate it to IT professionals. And I was asked to present those shows, and we travelled all around the country. And the audiences were obviously in awe of all the latest gizmos that we had. But it was lovely when they came up afterwards, these IT professionals, and said, if it hadn't been for you and your TV series, I would never have got into this, and I love it, and all these IT professionals. And people have been saying the same thing to me this morning, and I've only just got here. It's absolutely wonderful. So I feel very proud and honoured to have been part of something which is so important and so seminal, and such a basic part of our culture, and it's extremely important. And that's the real value of this collection to me. Arguably, this country, the scientists of this country invented the computer, and we have a lot to be very, very proud of, and here we can see it on display. The other thing I do want to talk about, I don't want to bang on for hours, but one of the things I do want to talk about very much is I have a passionate enthusiasm for old cars, and I'm lucky enough to be the president of the Atwell Wilson Motor Museum in Caen. And one of the things about old cars is that it doesn't mean anything if it's sitting there with a light shining on it gathering dust in a museum. It only has any relevance if it's got fuel in it and oil in it and its battery's charged up and it's going along. It's MOT'd and it's taxed and it's running. That's when a car means something. It's exactly the same with these computers. God knows where you get the parts from. It's easy with a car, you can make them, but what do you do with a computer? How do you get these chips? Where do you get these things from? I really admire the dedication and the skill of the volunteers here who've spent hours and hours and hours of their own time and love just making these things go. And when they do, God, how satisfying that must be. It's just wonderful. Anyway, it's all on show for you over the next 2 days. I urge you to look beyond just these few buildings here, because practically the whole site is occupied with this festival, and there are presentations, there are demonstrations, all sorts of things. Look in your programme, there's a map on the back, so you've got no excuse for not knowing where things are. And we've got OMD tonight. How on earth they mangled that? I have no idea. So you're too late for that, I'm sorry. So it is with great pride and real pleasure that I declare the first of many, the first vintage computer festival at the National Museum of Computing at Bletchley Park formally open. Thank you very much.